Crimson Desert is here, and the launch has caused a lot of discussions, and also the stock from developer Pearl Abyss took a significant hit. I got all the latest updates. I also want to look at other gaming news from Projekt Red. They are preparing something unannounced for the coming months. Starfield is making a comeback, and way more gaming news. So good at joining the Sunday news roundup. And let's go. Yes, Crimson Desert is more polarizing than many thought before launch. After 92 reviews, the game sits at a 78 on Metacritic. The truth is that if this game hits the right notes for you, you will likely feel much more positive, but the exact opposite can also be true. As I said in my review, which I totally recommend you check out if you haven't already, the game often gets in its own way thanks to annoying controls that you have to get used to, a very slow start, frustrating puzzles, overly aggressive and unfair bosses. Basically things that are normally taken care of in huge single player open world games like this. Some people like myself will put up with these shortcomings because of the amazing freedom and world you get in return, but that is obviously not the case for everyone. So it has been great to see that Pearl Abyss is already addressing a lot of issues. For example, major cities now have fast travel spots, making traversing the world way easier. They nerfed and rebalanced certain bosses. You can now speed up cutscenes more while retrying boss fights. Also a checkpoint where you had to redo a puzzle if you would die while fighting a boss has been addressed. Just like annoying enemies that would stun lock you into an impossible quicktime event, so you would just die and respawn. This has also been addressed, and this all based on feedback from our 2-week-long review process. Like, they're super reactive, so I really expect this game to be in a much better state in the coming weeks and months from now. But that did not stop the Pearl Abyss stock from dropping though. It lost 40% from its recent peak after the reviews appeared, which implies that investors, just like many other people, were expecting better results. Now the game has already crossed 2 million copies sold, but a lot of that was pre-orders, so the true test will be a week from now to see if it continues to do well. The Steam concurrent numbers are very solid too, so this is obviously a success, but the question is how big of a success when all is said and done. Like, if they continue to improve the game and make the much needed fixes, then I really hope this game continues to do well, because it's very well deserved. It's an ambitious title, and if it does well, it means we get more ambitious open world games like this. So yeah, I'm expecting a renaissance at least later, with like videos saying, yo, the game is much better now, you should check it out if you did not like it at launch or something like that. Let me know if you're playing and what do you think in the comments. I'll of course continue to follow everything related to Crimson Desert right here. So you've likely already seen the big DLSS 5 reveal, which according to Nvidia is the most significant breakthrough in computer graphics since the debut of the real-time ray tracing. But from the many videos they released demonstrating this new tech, it looks more like one of those Snapchat Instagram AI filters that completely alters the look of the characters. Previous iterations of DLSS were used to enhance the game with things like multi-frame generation, making sure that even with ray tracing enabled, you could still experience a very high frame rate. Or features like super resolution, where assets would become much more detailed. Again, those things actually made games better while staying true to the artistic vision, but DLSS 5 doesn't really seem to solve anything, at least based on these videos. Right now it just looks like a filter that we've trained our eyes to recognize as AI generated slop. And it's honestly kind of wild to see how these companies can sometimes be completely out of touch, that they thought that releasing these videos would actually be something that we would all celebrate, and the Nvidia CEO is now even saying that we are completely wrong for not liking this. But also, big game directors seem to be out of touch. This Todd Howard talking about DLSS 5.
It was amazing how it brought to life. We've played it, we can't wait for all of you to do so as well.
So Todd looked at his own game with this AI filter and was like, yeah, that looks amazing. Kind of weird, because we have reports from a lot of other gaming developers and they're like, what the heck is this DLSS 5? So we will see how it evolves. Now let's move on to other gaming news. Of course, leave a like, that would really help me out, and subscribe, because we post one of these big gaming news roundup videos every Sunday. Time for quick shots, news stories I'll go over quickly. While many game developers are downsizing, Projekt Red has actually been hiring a lot of new talent. For as far as I know, they are the only company that in their financial calls gives a detailed breakdown of the number of developers that they have per project. Around this time last year, they had a headcount of 707, while now that number is 933. For comparison, 150 people worked on Ghost of Yotei inside Sucker Punch, and on Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West it was around the 250-300 people at Guerrilla Games. So The Witcher 4 has almost double the amount of developers working on their game and almost triple that of Sucker Punch. Cyberpunk 2 now has around 150 developers, almost double compared to last year. There's also a pretty sizable team working on Sirius, the multiplayer Witcher game, and they also have a brand new IP called Hadar in development, and that's being prototyped by a smaller team. So I think The Witcher 4 is probably targeting late 2027, although 2028 does seem more realistic, and we should not expect Cyberpunk 2 until 2030 at the earliest. So that's still far away, but CD Projekt Red now confirmed that they have an unannounced project in the coming quarters. It is very likely the rumored Witcher 3 DLC being developed by Fool's Theory, the same studio working on the Witcher 1 remake. So Polish insiders and analysts first expected the DLC to launch in May. Now they think September, but they overall think that it will release before GTA 6. September would be crazy because that month is already looking extremely crowded. But I will of course keep you posted. Let me know if you're looking forward to the upcoming CD Projekt Red projects in the comments. But yes, like I said, many companies are downsizing, including Ubisoft. They're one of the biggest gaming companies in terms of employees, while relatively they're making not a lot of profit or no profit at all these days. And that means that they have to restructure, and this week Red Storm Entertainment got the axe. The studio is mostly known for its work on older Ghost Recon games, including Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2. Most recently they did VR titles like Star Trek Bridge Crew and Assassin's Creed Nexus, and the studio might have survived if they had managed to get the free-to-play project Division Heartland off the ground, but that game was cancelled after years and years of testing and development. Hopefully the 105 developers at Red Storm can land on their feet. I'll of course be following all the Ubisoft news here on the channel. Lego Batman The Dark Knight is now launching 1 week earlier on May 22nd, with early access for the deluxe edition starting on May 18th. I would say good news overall, especially since it was originally sharing a release window with 007 First Light. But before we get to May, we of course are going to April, and yeah, Bethesda has now officially confirmed that Starfield will be coming to PlayStation 5 on April 7th. The base version will cost $50, while the premium edition costs $70 and includes both DLCs, including the new Terran Armada expansion that is also launching on the other platforms on April 7th. This DLC includes new locations, enemies and weapons. It overall has a more combat focus, but there's also a free update coming on April 7th called Free Lanes. With the biggest addition being Cruise Mode, which lets you take off in any direction and they can travel between planets, and there will be new points of interest. So while in Cruise Mode you can walk around your ship and do everything that you could normally do while in the orbit, but now you will suddenly hear your alarm and then you have to check it out, so take control of your ship again, and yeah, you can then discover new points of interest. So they basically wanted to make space exploration more a thing in Starfield. There are more weapon upgrades to make the weapons feel more unique, a new Moonjumper vehicle, a small robot companion, and also I wanted to highlight a mansion carved out in an asteroid that you can buy if you're very wealthy in the game. So you could argue that the PlayStation 5 version is essentially a definitive edition, but people get it at launch and at a lower starting price, which kind of a trend we're seeing with Xbox games coming to PlayStation. It's like a much better version of themselves. Let me know if you're looking forward to new Starfield content and if you will be playing in the comments down below. Time for the rumor roundup, where I rate the biggest leaks and rumors of the week. 3 stars means I believe it, and 1 star means let's take this with a huge grain of salt. So we had quite some new PlayStation hardware updates this week. The PS5 Pro now has the upgraded version of PSSR, improving the image quality and detail while maintaining higher frame rates in games like Silent Hill F, Monster Hunter Wilds, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Crimson Desert. The PlayStation Portal got a new update to support a high quality 1080p mode, meaning that games can look better if you have a strong internet connection. And a reminder, there are rumors of an OLED version of the PlayStation Portal launching later this year. But the rumor we got this week is that Insider Gaming reports that Sony is planning to drop the PlayStation Network branding. It would just be a visual change with no functional impact, but they apparently feel like it's time to move on from the name. Now, Network does sound a bit outdated, but I can still see myself calling it PSN regardless. But yeah, I'm giving 3 stars. I totally believe that this will happen, although it will not be a huge change in the grand scheme of things. So this coming week, Life is Strange Reunion is releasing. Is anyone hyped for this? I'm not hearing anything. Let me know in the comments. It does feel like it might be the final Life is Strange game, unless the TV show that is coming ends up being a huge success, and I think it's a possibility. We will likely see another Crimson Desert update, as they've been pushing weekly patches based on feedback since review codes went out. Sadly, no weekly news streams for now, but I will speak to you soon in other content. And of course, these weekly news roundups will be happening on Sunday. Check out my Crimson Desert review if you haven't already by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.